What's going on, boys and girls, and welcome back to Nth Level Entertainment, the most awesome geek and car culture YouTube channel in South Africa. Alright guys, you've seen the title, you've seen the thumbnail, you know what's going on. Before I get started, I just want to say Rian Johnson has a very bad reputation right now since how he handled The Last Jedi, Episode 9 of the Star Wars new trilogy. And I'm just going to say that Peyton Reed is going to develop a similar reputation, not because he did a bad job, but because of the amount of heart attacks and heart palpitations and ugly crying faces that he induced as a reaction to this episode that I am about to review of The Mandalorian. So we are reviewing The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 8, the finale. I think it's also Chapter 16, if I'm not mistaken, called The Rescue. This was a fantastic episode. This is the best Star Wars I have seen in a very long time. Like a lot of other fans, right? I had a lot of gripes with The Last Jedi because, I'm one of those people who are old enough to have watched Star Wars in the order of its theatrical release. Not as a rewatch, but as the films came out, right? And so as a result of that, as far as Star Wars is concerned, Luke Skywalker was always my favorite character in that story, hands down. Yes, there is a lot of other significant characters who have their own, level of importance and popularity for their own reasons. I acknowledge that. I do like a lot of them as well, but Luke Skywalker was definitely my favorite. And what happened to him in Episode 9 was a travesty as far as I'm concerned, especially because of the build-up of anticipation that we've had for, I think, over 30 years now of waiting for his return, since Return of the Jedi. There's been a lot of stories about him in, the Star Wars extended universe, in the novels and so on and so forth, in the comic books from Marvel Comics. And, they all built him up to be a very sort of like OP type of Jedi, which kind of made sense as far as where we left off with him after Return of the Jedi. This is the man who single-handedly defeated Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine in one confrontation on the Death Star at the end of Episode 6, I think it was. So now this was a very triumphant return. Those of you who have seen the episode already, you know what I'm referring to. This is definitely going to be a spoiler review. If you haven't watched this episode yet, please pause this video, click it on the save to watch later icon, and come back after you've watched it. So the episode itself kicks off with action from the beginning. It basically lets us know what the stakes are. It basically lets us know that this is a finale episode of The Mandalorian Season 2, where we see the Slave One in a space kind of like dogfight with a ship that's carrying the doctor that's working for Moff Gideon, the one who's actually responsible for the cloning experiments on Baby Yoda. So they track him down, they get the coordinates from him, and we actually see Nathaniel Malik from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. being one of the Imperial pilots who's gotten sort of like, trying to escape with him and so on and so forth. So we see that. So they get the information from the doctor, and then eventually they track down Moff Gideon and get his coordinates. Then they stop off at a planet where they find Bo-Katan and Sasha Banks' character, the one who's also part of the Night Owls. They're just chilling, having a drink. And then, the Mandalorian asked them for their help on the mission to go and rescue Baby Yoda. And there's a little bit of beef that happens there between Boba Fett and Sasha Banks' character, and they start fighting. So to me, I was like, wow, this is hectic. But then I remembered again that, okay, this is the finale, and basically they're letting us know visually and thematically that, okay, the stakes are higher now. Be ready for a lot more action to come later in the episode. So after that scuffle, they eventually come to terms and they agree as to what's going to happen. Then they devise a very, very clever plan as to they're going to use the ship that they just commandeered when they got the doctor as a decoy to pretend as though they're in distress as they approach Moff Gideon's light cruiser. And then the Slave One was going to be, basically following them as though they're being like pursued and shot at by the Slave One, so that they allow them to land as an emergency situation kind of thing, while taking out TIE fighters to fight off the Slave One. So the plan itself goes off exactly as planned, and then as soon as they get on the ship, the action ensues. We see Fennec Shan, Ming-Na Wen's character, in all her glory. It gave me Agent May cavalry vibes, as she was just taking out all of the stormtroopers there. Cara Dune also has her moment in the spotlight there, where she was basically showing her value as the infamous rebel dropper, or drop trooper, I think is the official term, as she was just mowing down so many of those stormtroopers and even fixing her weapon at the same time as all of this was happening. So it was kind of like a new and updated version of that girls get it done scene that we saw from Avengers Endgame, where they had a little bit of an A-Force moment when all the female members of the Avengers or the Marvel Cinematic Universe came together to protect Spider-Man with Captain Marvel with the Infinity Gauntlet. So it was something kind of like that, but a little bit more organic and not forced kind of thing. And so we see that happen whilst Mando is basically sneaking to the chamber where Grogu is kept, and along the way he faces off with the Dark Troopers, who we last saw abducting Baby Yoda. So now we get to see how much of a formidable force they actually are when Mando, as he's passing their containment chamber kind of thing, he sees them getting activated and the doors open, and he's only able to close the door quick enough to block the rest of them from coming out, but one of them gets through and he gets into the fight with that one, and he's barely able to inflict any damage on it until he finally uses that Beskar spear that he got from the Ahsoka Tano episode, and then that does the trick. He takes its head off and all that, but there was a lot of struggle before he could do that. He even tried his flamethrower, and that Dark Trooper literally looked down at its body, looked at him like, really, and tossed him to the side like a rag doll. So that was basically built up to show how formidable these Dark Troopers actually are. But after besting that one, he eventually manages to open an airlock which takes all of them out. It looked as though, wow, they're so easily defeated just like that after all that build up, but later in the episode we find out that that's only a temporary thing. So eventually he gets to the chamber where Baby Yoda is being held, and he takes out the stormtroopers that are guarding it, and then only to find that Moff Gideon is actually in the chamber with Baby Yoda, who is cuffed in tiny Fruit Loops looking handcuffs, and he's holding a Darksaber over his head, basically threatening to kill him. So after a bit of a back and forth, Mando basically tells Moff Gideon that, look, I don't care about this Darksaber. I'm here to save baby Yoda, because that's that's basically like his kid now. Like, they've bonded a lot, and he's already shown several times his hesitation to let him go. I mean, even when Ahsoka, basically refused to train him, we could see that there was actually some relief in Din Djarin's voice and his behavior, because his voice was cracking as he was telling Baby Yoda that, look, we found the person you're supposed to go to now. I'm gonna let you go now. You have to go now, kind of thing. As though he's telling him, but really telling himself, because he had to let him go. So that's basically the bond they have now. And Moff Gideon pretends to agree to the terms, seeing as how he's not after the Darksaber. So he's like, okay, cool. You can take him and leave as long as you just get out of my ship and we don't cross paths again. And Din Djarin is like, cool. Obviously, he's lying. He's a bad guy. The moment the Mando tries to take Baby Yoda, he starts striking him with a lightsaber. So a fight ensues from there, and fortunately Beskar is able to, pure Beskar, is able to actually deflect the lightsaber hits like we've seen in the previous episodes, and he eventually uses that spear, and then we get a payoff from that moment that the Mando had from the end of the previous episode, where he sent Moff Gideon a Liam Neeson Taken message, basically saying, I have a particular set of skills, I will find you and get my child back. He means more to me than you know. So we finally get that culminating in that epic clash that they have with a Darksaber versus the Beskar spear. So eventually Mando beats Moff Gideon, and he disarms him and takes the Darksaber, and then he takes him and Baby Yoda to the bridge where Bo-Katan and everybody else are already waiting. And then we see now there's a bit of an awkward moment where we realize that the Darksaber can only be won in combat if you are to be the next ruler of Mandalore. And so Moff Gideon basically, enjoys that moment that, well, Bo-Katan is now gonna have to fight Din Djarin in order to meaningfully get the Dark Spear back in her possession, which was a strange thing because in Rebels, Sabine Wren won the Darksaber through combat. Okay, fair enough, but she then just proceeded to just hand it over to Bo-Katan, and then said, no, you are now the possessor of the Darksaber, you can rule Mandalore. And everyone around them actually accepted that as well and accepted her as the new leader. But for some reason, there is now this retcon in this episode that only if you win the Darksaber through combat are you then recognized as the true new great Mandalore kind of thing. Which is something, I guess, I don't know, we'll have to get into in maybe a theory speculation video if I do one of those. Let me know in the comments down below if you'd like me to go that route. I have been considering things like doing a entertainment news segment to my channel. But anyway, right now that's neither here nor there. So we have that moment, and before they can resolve it, we hear a proximity alarm on the ship, indicating that the Dark Troopers are now coming back, which reminds us that yes, they do have jetpacks. That's exactly how they abducted Baby Yoda in the previous episode in the first place. So now they're coming back, and then all the guys, they seal themselves in that bridge. They close the blast doors to try and protect themselves from the Dark Troopers. And the Dark Troopers notice this, and they head straight for the brig, and they start pounding through. There's this huge moment of suspense and anticipation as we see the doors on that blast door slowly start to sort of like bend from all the impact and the damage from the Dark Troopers, literally trying to punch their way through. And we see the look of tension and anticipation and fear in the eyes of Bo-Katan and Mando and everybody else that was in that brig, not knowing what's going to happen. And then we hear another proximity alarm from the ship. Now this moment was every Star Wars fan's dream that's about to happen now. So after we hear the proximity alarm, everybody looks out the window and we see an X-Wing fly past the ship. Now at this moment, I was watching this episode with my nephew. I was like, wait, there's just one X-Wing, I didn't want to say out loud what I was thinking because I don't want to look stupid, but I was like, wait, there's one X-Wing that's coming on the ship. And I looked at him and he was like, yeah, why? I was like, okay, wait. And then they try and hail the X-Wing. They're like, unidentified ship. Give us your information. Who are you? Or whatever. Identify yourself, kind of thing. And they say nothing. We see the X-Wing docking. And then later on, we see the Dark Troopers basically sort of stop punching because they realize that somebody else is now on the ship. And they're like kind of like battle ready. So at this moment, my mind is just going crazy. I'm like thinking, wait a minute. That's one single X-Wing. Could this be, because if any Star Wars fan worth their salt knows that X-Wings are closely linked and associated to Luke Skywalker. We saw him raise one for Rey on that planet, I think it was called Octu, when he was telling her to get back into the fights and so on and so forth. He basically raised the X-Wing as a Force ghost from the water, mirroring the scene from Empire Strikes Back when Yoda does the same thing for him when he had to go back into the fight. And we also see Rey using the X-Wing in The Rise of Skywalker when she made it to that planet that Emperor Palpatine was on for the final confrontation. So I was like, okay, I was thinking all of this, right? And then in that moment, we see Baby Yoda's ears prick up as though he's sensing someone who is, a force sensitive or force wielding, character in Star Wars. Then I was like, no ways. This is the freaking Mandalorian. A lot of people have been speculating who might be the Jedi that answers the call. And if you consider the timeline, the Mandalorian is set 5 years after Return of the Jedi, which means that this is soon after Luke had just, defeated the Empire. And it was now during that time that we see in the novels where he was, still growing and keeping up with his force training and becoming a more and more powerful Jedi. During the time when he has started the Jedi Academy, which was spoken about in The Force Awakens, where Kylo Ren eventually freaking murdered everybody. So I was like, okay, it can't be Luke Skywalker. Because I was thinking, based on the fact that the characters that they're introducing into The Mandalorian are characters from all over Star Wars canon, right? But mostly it's been characters from Clone Wars and Rebels, who are being brought from the animation to live action. So my bet as to which Jedi might answer the call, it logically made sense that it would be Luke Skywalker, but I was thinking more along the lines of Ezra Bridger probably, because we've seen Ahsoka Tano, and Ahsoka Tano name-dropped Admiral Thrawn, who we last saw disappearing with Ezra Bridger at the end of Star Wars Rebels. So I thought, okay, it has to be Ezra. It would be cool if it was Luke, but it has to be Ezra. And then we look at the security monitor footage as Baby Yoda is looking at it as well, and we see a cloaked figure walking onto the bridge, and I was like, no freaking way. It cannot be. And then we see some more footage from the security camera, and we see Bo-Katan looking, and as soon as she sees the cloaked figure, we see her having a nervous moment of nostalgia kind of thing, because she's fought alongside Ahsoka Tano. She knows what Jedis are. And then we see that Jedi fighting those dark troopers. But now the security footage is black and white. We cannot see the color of the lightsaber. So at this point, I'm like, no freaking way. No freaking way. It is not him. And then we cut to a moment where you see a green lightsaber. And I was like, oh shit, I just lost my mind. I reacted to that scene like someone who watches soccer religiously, you know? I've never reacted to, okay, well, except for Avengers Endgame, but I have never audibly reacted that intensely ever in my life, aside for Avengers Endgame. And then we just see that green lightsaber wrecking shot using the Force. You know, like there's this one scene where he cut off one dark trooper's head, used the Force to hit him to knock out another dark trooper. And then the last one that he fought in the long line of dark troopers that tried to hold him back, he literally just stopped him, held him in place with the Force, and proceeded to just crush him from the inside. That, ladies and gentlemen, please excuse my passion, but the thing is, like I was saying at the beginning of the video, I have been a Star Wars fan since it came out. Luke Skywalker has always been my favorite Star Wars character. And to see him having been done wrong in The Last Jedi, a lot of us had lost hope as to we're never going to see the greatness that was shown in the novel as to who Luke Skywalker eventually became. We're never going to see that again. Our chance is gone. Until this episode, I finally saw Luke Skywalker depicted in the way I always wanted to see him. Badass and a powerful Jedi. The last Jedi. Which is kind of true at this point in time. Yes, Ahsoka was there, but Ahsoka didn't really identify as a Jedi anymore. She was just a Force-sensitive person, always able to use the lightsaber and has been trained as a Jedi, but she left the Order in the Clone Wars. So technically, Luke Skywalker literally is the last Jedi. And we saw him in action like we've been wanting to for like 30 years now. And yeah, he just basically absolutely wrecks shop on all of those dark troopers who have been built up to be such an unstoppable force. And he just took them out all effortlessly. And eventually he gets to the brig, and you know, the Mandalorian is like, okay, fine, open the doors for him, because he can see that Baby Yoda is kind of, you know, comfortable with whoever it is that's coming here. And then he also, I guess, put two and two together, because he's the one who took Baby Yoda to the Seeing Stone when he placed that call in the Force to be like, yo, anybody out there? I'm over here, I need some training. So obviously there was going to be a Jedi that responds to the call. I just didn't think they were going to go there and bring Luke Skywalker on. You know, since I watched this episode, I've watched so many reaction videos to that last scene, and it brought so many people to tears. I really understand why. I didn't even judge them for being emotional on camera, because that seems to be the power that the Star Wars franchise has on its fans. You know, we are very connected to it, you know? I mean, if you look at the first movie to ever come out, in New Hope, that's the kind of thing that these stories instilled in a lot of us who were fans of the franchise. So yeah, that's how it basically ended. And then we witness Luke Skywalker meeting the Mandalorian. They have an exchange. He lets him know that, yes, I am a Jedi. Yes, I am here for the child. And he lets them know that the child just needs your permission to go with me. And we have a very touching scene with the Mandalorian, because, you know, it's been built up, especially since the Believer episode. We see him remove his mask for Baby Yoda, and that finally gives him, you know, the comfortable send-off to say, okay, fine, you have my blessing. You know, yes, we have bonded. I am going to miss you, and so on and so forth. But this was my quest. I have to do this. And they eventually, you know, Baby Yoda eventually relented, especially when R2 came in after Luke Skywalker. This is why I say Peyton Reed is going to be a hated director, because of the emotions that, you know, he invoked in so many people that were watching this episode. Because he basically, you know, the way it was directed and filmed, he kind of like, it was a misdirect, it was a teaser. You know, you see the X-Wing, You kind of know it's Luke Skywalker, but there's no confirmation, so you're not sure. You see a cloaked figure on the security footage. You know it's a Jedi, but you're not sure if it's Luke Skywalker. You see a lightsaber, but it's black and white, you're not sure. And then you see the actual lightsaber itself is green, but is it Luke Skywalker? And then you finally see that gloved hand, and the other hand doesn't have a glove, holding a green lightsaber. That's when you are kind of sure, but you're still not completely sure because he's hooded. So he's sort of like, he cascaded the excitement, you know? It's sort of like he designed this episode to get reactions out of fans. That is the best fan service I've ever witnessed in a very long time. Again, ever since Avengers Endgame. And then that's basically where the episode ends. You know, Baby Yoda goes off with Luke. Din Djarin says his goodbyes. And we see a very iconic shot, actually, that you don't see ever, I think, in The Mandalorian before this episode, of Din Djarin standing there in full Mandalorian armor, but without the helmet, where you can clearly see Pedro Pascal's face. So, yeah, no, they really brought it on this episode. It's gotta be, like I said, the best Star Wars I've seen in a very long time. And it actually corrects so much that's gone wrong with the franchise recently. Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, Peyton Reed, Kathleen Kennedy, yo, my hat's off. Thank you for giving us, I don't even know what to call it. I don't think I have words available to me right now that will adequately describe it, but all I can say is thank you. We've been waiting for this, and it was awesome. So yeah, that's gonna conclude my review. Oh yes, and there was also a post-credit scene where we see Boba Fett actually going back to Jabba the Hutt's palace, and basically wrecking shop there as well with Fennec Shan. We see Jabba the Hutt's like top lieutenant, I think his name is Bib Fortuna, and he's like, Boba, I haven't seen you in such a long time, blah blah blah, in an alien language, and Boba just takes him out, takes him off the throne, and basically sits there, and that's the last shot. And then we see title text saying The Book of Boba Fett, coming December 2021. So there's been a lot of speculation as to whether there's going to be a spin-off Boba Fett series. That just basically confirmed it. So yeah, this was an awesome episode. Now my review has been concluded. So if you guys have seen this, please let me know in the comments down below what you thought of it, if you enjoyed it or what your predictions for the coming up seasons are going to be, what's going to happen with the other spin-off shows that have been announced. Yeah, let me know in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please click on the thumbs up icon to give us a like, and be sure to subscribe if you want to see more, and ring that bell icon so you are notified each and every time I drop new content on this here channel. As usual, people, I have been Zwelethwa Mahlangu, and thanks for hanging out with me. Take care of each other, stay awesome, stay chasing your dreams. May the Force be with you.